But welcome to our ongoing series. Again, this is a Rising Artist series that we started a couple months ago, and I think we're definitely gonna continue it and talking about not only different themes and topics, but also talk to different kinds of artists. Although today's seems like it's more digital media based, so photography, filmmaking, cinematography. But going forward, again, we have a lot of different talks. But today's is Rising Artist Series Latinx panel for our Hispanic Heritage Month. So, so just a quick overview of our talk. Oh, so sorry. And it's on the screen as well, but again, I'll read it. Why not? In honor of Latinx Heritage Month, join me, Mavvro, for our panel during this discussion. During this panel discussion, new upcoming and established artists will talk about their artistry and practice, as well as discussing the role that their identity plays, if any, not assuming, but we'll talk about it, if any, on both their art and how they engage with the world around them. With that being said, I actually want to take this time now to introduce our panelists. Does anyone want to go first? Does it matter? No? Not everyone at the same time. All right. Michael T. I'm gonna start with you, Michael T. So,
hello.
For those who don't know Michael T, he, him. Michael T's love of filmmaking started around 2016 when he began documenting his friends creating art around his hometown of Lawrence, Massachusetts. So it's Lawrence. Michael made his first narrative short film in 2019 titled Boys Will Be Boys. If y'all haven't seen that, you should see that, which became nominated for multiple film festivals across the world. In 2020, he made a second short film titled Erica, which was also nominated to be featured on the popular filmmaking hub No Budge. Crazy. That's crazy. He recently released his third short film titled June 22nd. Michael continues to navigate the film industry as he takes jobs working on various productions. I know he's a man of many talents, and he'll talk about a little bit his roles. He's currently in post-production for his next blockbuster short showcasing bachata and Dominican culture titled Bailando. So with that being said, Michael, do you want to say anything else? Anything else I missed? You want to talk about yourself a little bit?
I feel like you pretty much covered it. I think that's like basically mostly everything. Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm from Lawrence, Mass. And yeah, I've been making films since 2016. That's a long time.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like I'm like, damn, it's been that long, but yeah, we're here.
And again, on the screen, I'm gonna have as you can see, some stills and images of everyone's work. So the first two stills were from Boys Will Be Boys, and then again, Michael, if you want to say anything about the stills, these are from Erica.
Yeah, these are basically some of my favorite stills in the film, like in all the films, basically. Like these are the ones I always go to when people ask for stills. So yeah,
Beautiful.
some of my favorites here.
And what's this?
Oh, that's a sneak peek still from the film we're working on by Londo, which I mean I've spoken to you about it today, but I mean, everybody here, like we officially hired an editor and I handed off the hard drive today. So the film is off the post now. Yeah, we're in post production now.
That's exciting, man. That is really exciting. And just off this one still, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
it's very raw too. So that's the best I got right now.
Yeah, and mind you, again, so the title of this film is called Bailando. So I think it's safe to say that this is in tune with your culture.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So let's pin there, and we'll come back to it. Okay? I definitely want to hear more about that.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Michael. So
Thank you.
Gonna move on to Zan. Hello, Zan. Zan is they them. So intro to Zan. Zan is an interdisciplinary artist and photographer currently based in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Zan was born in Boston to two immigrant parents from El Salvador and identifies as transgender. They specialize in writing and art workshops centered around social justice, while also focusing on documenting portraits of young storytelling activists. Some of those portraits you'll see in a few seconds, actually. Currently, they hold the position as facilitator, creative director, and photographer. That's a lot of hats you're wearing. Proud of you. And photographer for youth-led projects at I Learn America. They work with leaders from Mass, Maryland, New York, Florida, and California, so it's pretty ranged from the U.S. Zan is also a current and past collaborator with the public schools of Lawrence and the greater Boston area, Essex Community College Foundation, Make the Road New York, and the list is insane, brother. I love it. I'm so proud. I'm sorry. I'm taking a moment. I'm making this personal. Zan also studied photography at Lawrence Public Schools, the Governor's Academy, and also is an alum photo apprentice at Elevated Thoughts. Again, one of my photo apprentices, and it's beautiful to see how much you have grown just in the last year and a half that you've been in my life. And it's an honor to be, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you as a panelist today, Zan. So thank you so much. And is there anything else you'd like to say?
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for being my mentor. Like, who got mad as a mentor? Me.
Bro, beautiful. Wow. This feels like so long ago. Oh my God. So for those who don't know, this image right here is actually part of a small series. Zan, there's 4 main images in total, and it is a series and it's narrative. But this image can be seen for those who are based in Lawrence. This image can be seen. Zan, where's yours? At Lawrence High? No, yours is at the reservoir. Okay. We have 2 photo scrims here in Lawrence, one at Lawrence High and the other one at the reservoir up in Tower Hill area. And this photo is one of the photos that can be seen at said scrim. It's like a 26 feet long scrim, highlighting last year's apprentices' work, Zan being one of our last year's apprentices. Beautiful, beautiful work, Zan. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
No problem. And last but certainly not least, Joseann Tejada, he, him. Joseann is a Dominican-born filmmaker raised in Boston. Growing up, Joseann was exposed to many different types of cultures and ethnicities, along with the fusions that exist in between. Such marriages and juxtapositions have always interested Joseann, drawing him to works such as Rush Hour, Samurai Champloo. Champloo, is that I say that correctly? Okay,
yeah.
I've actually never seen it. I know, I don't even, we'll talk about it. And genres such as jazz fusion and Habibi funk, with colorful aesthetic blends as a backdrop. Joseann's current work uses Edward Glissant's poetics of relation as a vessel to explore themes of masculinity and the price of refusing love. Well, that is beautiful. So, Joseann, do you want to add anything else and talk a little bit about yourself?
I don't know about to add anything else, but I mean, yeah, I take pictures and videos, and I focus a lot on sort of the fragility in masculinity in a good and bad way, not just in a critiquing way, but also celebrating the fragility that a lot of young men can exhibit from all different types of backgrounds. That's where I'm at right now, though. So yeah, it changes. Last 2 summers ago, I was shooting Power Rangers, so I'm kind of like all over the place.
By Power Rangers, you mean
this guy? Yeah.
Yeah, this film, the first time I saw this, I had to sit down and like really like digest, and then I saw it again immediately, and I'm just like, okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I loved it. It was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel like I always use this to describe your work whenever I'm talking about your work. But I feel like your work always just feels like a love letter to whatever it is that you're documenting. Not just a love letter to masculinity, a love letter to your culture and heritage, but also just to whatever it is that you're like, whatever story you're telling feels like it's a love letter to that thing. And I don't really know how else to explain it, but I absolutely love your work.
I think that's a good way of explaining it, actually. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but I do. Yeah, I am a romantic in the artistic movement sense. You know, I do romanticize a lot of things, so I guess it shows up.
Yeah, and I'm sure, especially like romanticizing, I'm sure that's something that other artists can other artists could view that as a weakness.
Mm.
We're not gonna dive into that, but I just want to say it's definitely not a weakness, and I'm glad that you give everything you do, you give it your all, and you wear your heart on your sleeve. And your work is, I think your work shows. You know,
Thank you.
beautiful. Okay, thank you guys so much for introductions. And again, we kind of answered like the first question, which is who are you and what is your medium? Because again, so we have filmmakers, some cinematography, photography as well. So I just want to ask actually, why that medium? And yeah, why that medium? So who are you? What's your medium and why that medium? So let's start there, and I'll open it up to whoever wants to start with that. Also, you guys have some beautiful comments in the chat as well. Everyone's praising y'all, just letting you know. But so thank you to the chat. But yeah, so why that medium? Whoever wants to go. This was open for all three of you.
I could start. I could let you know why. I think even recently now, I've started to realize why film or filmmaking. You know, I feel like film, and I have this conversation with a lot of people. Film feels like the one art form that you can put almost all the mediums together, and they all come together and make something big. You know, like I know when I did Bailando, I realized like how many elements that project took. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just me, but it was more like I brought everyone together to be able to make this project, and everyone did different mediums when it came to like costume design or like set design. We had various artists from like around the area that had pieces on the wall of like the film, and of like the set. And I love the impact that films give people. Like the fact that we can all just sit down in a theater with a bunch of strangers, and by the end of it we all walk out feeling like different, or feeling like we just walked out with like a piece of like a feeling or a memory that we've been craving for. It's really cool. And I just very much love that, you know, it's here, and like it's something, you know, with art everything lasts forever. I honestly think that. And you know, with film, it's almost like a timestamp at some point with some of these films, or even, you know, just overall really, I just like that feeling of walking out like satisfied after watching a film, or bringing all those mediums together. I think that's why. I don't know if that fully answered it, but
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
but yeah.
I agree. I've always thought that actually not always. I think up until like the last couple of years, I'm like really I appreciate film so much because it really does tie in everything. Because again, there's set design and costume design, there's photography, videography, there's writing. It just
Yeah.
really is like this beautiful like culmination of everything, and so many different things have to work in unison. And there's so many
Yeah.
parts, you know, not to undermine or take away from any other medium, but it's just the fact that I feel like film really is just it has to be in unison. Like and it shows. It shows when it's not. Like when a film
Yeah.
has beautiful shots, beautiful acting, but then a bad script, it shows. And that, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like really good script, but then it's shot really bad. It's like everything needs to work in tandem.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's my whole reason. That's just how I see it. Like, you know, I could probably sum it up with, you know, these films last forever. It almost feels like a time capsule at some point that you can always go back to. And I just really like the feeling that people get after watching a movie. Like just knowing that other people watched it and they expressed their feelings or walk out feeling something, like knowing that could happen, I'll be satisfied for life. Like
Yeah.
that's why I do it, you know.
Yeah. I
I,
agree.
I think I could add to that in a way. Yeah, I see film also as pretty harmonic. And you can definitely tell when a certain aspect of it is overstimulated. Um, and it's, throws off the balance. Um, but I think what's interesting for me is that I feel like you see this a lot too with a lot of younger filmmakers is that I'm not really like a big cinephile, like you won't catch me like in a theater 10 times a week, like, and I watch like way less movies than I probably should, but I think I was exposed to art and all the arts like really, really early. And I think in the big like jumble of these languages being spoken, film was just the one that made the most sense to me right away. It's the same way that I think a lot of us are born and we just like we don't choose to speak English. It's just what we speak. Of
Yeah,
course, we appreciate other languages, but that's just the first one that came to.
yeah.
And yeah, I think speaking in film is like speaking in like Spanglish. There's a certain beauty to that because you're pulling from all these different mediums, and I think that's what's really attractive about it. I'm also indecisive, so I get to just do it all every
But
time
it's
I do it.
beautiful. It's indecisive. You're saying you're indecisive, but it's beautiful because then with film you have the freedom of
Mhm.
not deciding in a way. You know what I mean? You have the freedom of like trying out different things,
Yeah.
which is amazing. But yeah, I agree. And it's like speaking Spanish. It's kind of like this constant back and forth and this constant like kind of like flirting, because you could
Yeah.
do this, but now you can do this, and it's like you kind of go back and forth, and it's really nice because again, it's like you don't have to tie yourself to anything in particular. Yeah, beautiful. Definitely some synergy between your answers, which I love. Um, Zan, yeah, do you want to add anything? It doesn't have to be about
Yeah,
it could be about anything you want.
I think I agree with what Michael T said about the time capsule idea because with photography it's like sometimes you don't know if you have like a whole day to shoot. You don't know if it's just a 1 second interaction. Um but every time you like snap the picture, it's an invitation. Like I always think that like sometimes a picture can go so wrong. Like you just feel like awkward and like I don't even want to be here. But if if you like get off on the right foot and you do the job of like making sure that whatever you're taking picture of, it's like it's not you just taking something. You gotta like give it back as well.
Yes.
And I think that really like speaks to how I started as a photographer because I started off with a camera during the pandemic, and for my family it was easier for me to be in El Salvador. So I was having class, and it was for class that I had, and I was in El Salvador with a camera, and all of the students were just in different locations, but I just happened to be in my home country. And when I was there and I was taking pictures and I was just starting off, I really think that I just really wanted to hold on to something. And I wanted to also give something back to the people that I encountered along the way. And I wanted to give them something to hold on to as well. So I really feel that idea of the time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Like just at one moment you take the picture. Yeah.
And I guess on the conversation of time capsule is like on the conversation of time capsule and also giving back and tying those two things together. It's like, do you feel like one, that's your responsibility to give back and kind of solidify their existence and solidify that like just make them feel seen? Because it's like you said, a time capsule really is like at its core is like I'm doing this so that the next generation or these other people can see what we were doing or what we stood for or why we did certain things or what or who we were. Um, so when you photograph your community, especially like and you feel like you're giving back to your community, do you feel like that's what you're doing in a way? It's like I see you, you know what I mean? Like you're part of your community, obviously, and it's like I see you, I'm solidifying your existence, and I'm making sure that you are seen by taking these photos, by creating this film, by you feel me?
Yeah, I absolutely, because sometimes you feel like you're going crazy. Like sometimes life can feel so upside down. Like it's just like a whole like swirling of different lines going up and down. And sometimes you feel so upside down. You're like I don't know where I am. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm doing. And then you realize, like I think I've especially through art and working with others through activism, you really come to find out that you're not alone. Like, okay, maybe we're all upside down, but at least we're not alone, and we can all feel something in this one picture, or we could all feel something in this one piece, and we could all like just feel it together. And I think about the fact that with the photo, it's like you have to stand very still.
Mhm.
Like if you're all nervous, your picture and you don't have a tripod, you're gonna like have like the picture all blurry.
Yeah.
So you just really have to take a deep breath in as an artist and do your job.
Yeah.
Like do what you came to do in this world, and just take a second to breathe and do that. Because if that's all you can give, that's what you can give.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned like that's that's all you can give. But also you mentioned this like this is a technical thing though, because you're talking about like taking a step back and making sure that you don't miss a shot because again when you're nervous you could definitely like miss a shot in sense of like shutter speed is too slow, so now like the picture's out of focus, the picture's motion blur. But it's also so much more than just the technical. It's also like if you don't take that breath and take a step back, not only will you miss a shot because your shutter speed is in the wrong thing, but like you're not even seeing the shot. Like sometimes you get so nervous that like you're not present and you lose your ability to notice. So regardless of and that's the thing. Like you need to make sure you're present, not just present in terms of like your camera and you and your tool being like aligned, but it's also like present in the moment, because again, it's like yeah, like you can make sure your shutter speed and your aperture is always good to go and like you're ready. But if you're not present, you don't see this moment happening. Doesn't matter if your settings are good to go because you're not. You feel me?
I think the camera really helps me walk into a room sometimes, because sometimes like I like you come in with a big camera um and you choose that as your tool, you might make people nervous. But if you
Yeah.
sometimes you come in with something smaller and maybe inviting like a Polaroid you can give out to people, it can really like set that invitation, set you up for success in like a room, and make you feel that, well, I'm not only just like a moving camera, like a moving object in the room. I'm
Mhm.
part of the room. I'm part of the conversation. I'm helping others make conversation. Yeah.
Um, I think there's a that's a really good segue into what my next question was going to be because you're already talking about how this makes you feel. And that's a really good question. That's a really good segue into I wanted to ask, so what personally is rewarding to you about what you do? And all of you in a way have already touched on this a little bit. But again, yeah, like what brings you joy when it comes to your craft? Yeah, and why is it rewarding? And I open that one up to all three of you as well. Again, you can take that however you want.
Um, I think one of the most rewarding parts for me is probably uh when people tell you how a film makes you feel, or like when people tell you the kind of emotions they felt watching it. Or I think one of my favorite moments is when people like start seeing the references you pulled from. It's just like one of those it's one of those moments where like you start to realize like why you did it and why you love it. And I really just love the idea of the kind of conversations it brings too. Um, that's probably how I would answer that. Like the most rewarding thing is the conversations I get after completing these films. And the what people tell me and why it means so much to them. And yeah, those conversations are really special because they could either lead you to the next thing you want to do, or they can lead you to you know, working on something that they had in mind, or just the conversations are endless and it just continues. It's almost like it's almost like it just adds on, and that's the most rewarding thing about, you know, making these films, the conversations that they bring for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm on the same foot as Michael T. That it's about the conversations, man. It's about like I said, just when you're just when I go around with my camera and I'm doing my thing, it's about the people I encounter along the way. Because sometimes I just decide to go on a walk, and I just get this feeling that I just like, oh, I just really want to go and take this picture. I just really want to go and talk to this person. And when you go and take that step, like it's really awesome to see what can come of it. Like I always tell people, when I've been trying to like get people started on taking pictures, like I tell them, what's the worst thing that can happen? And they're like, oh, like I get an ugly picture. I'm like, okay, what about what's worse than that? Oh, maybe like I break the camera. And I said, no, what's worse than that? I'm like, what I think about what's worse than that is like, oh, maybe I'm gonna walk up to somebody and I'm gonna get punched in the face. Like maybe like they're gonna be like, I don't want no damn picture.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you really feel like you gotta take that picture, then you gotta be willing to take that step, even though you might get punched in the face. And that's like with anything else. Like you don't know what will happen in the world, but as long as you like take those steps and like make those conversations, everything is all cool.
So when you get those images again, especially when you follow that feeling, because that's I know that feeling. That's a great feeling. That's a beautiful feeling to like really have the urge and like the motivation to be like, yo, I want to go do this right now. So when you do that, especially again for you, Zan, when you do that and you get that picture or you get that image or you get that whatever it is that you wanted to get, is that the most rewarding thing for you? Where you're like, damn, like I just made that happen, and this started as a feeling, this started as an idea, and now I executed. You know, so it's like, is that the most rewarding thing for you?
I think like yeah, for me it's nice to have the picture afterwards, like to either like physically have it in a Polaroid in my hand or to have it like on my computer. But sometimes I think like I'm not the best at sharing my photos yet. I haven't gotten to that level or that moment in time. And my Google Drive is pretty stuffed up, you know. Like some people, I know that people feel that, and
Yeah.
then I think, you know, I start to feel a little like angsty or like bad that dang, like now my pictures are just living in Google Drive. But then I think back to like, why am I doing this? Why did I even take that picture? It's because in that moment, it was just about that moment. It was just about that moment in time that I felt like I had to capture,
Mm.
and that feeling that it gave me right after.
Yeah, and again, and you're doing it for you, so it's like regardless of if you. And it's funny. I feel like I have this conversation like at least twice a week, every single bro. Like you're doing it for you know, because it's like it's that feeling, and like you love the craft, like you love the craft itself. You love your medium. You loved acting on it. And it's not about validation or whatever, but at its core, art is meant to be consumed. So you should show it to people. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's the cycle of like, damn, I do it for me, but it's like I also should show it to people because it's like there's artists, the art, and then the viewer. Like it's just and all these like you can't separate these three things. Like these three things go hand in hand. Like you have to. So then it's like I get passionate about this conversation because it's like, trust me, I know, bro, I don't share any of my work. Like 98% of my stuff is also sitting on my hard drives. And it's like I know it's there and I know it exists. I'm like, I'm proud and I love it and I'm happy. Then it's like no one's seen it. And it's like, but do they have to? But they should. You know, it's yeah, I'm not even gonna open up that conversation. But I very much agree with you, Zan. But with that being said, so thank you. Really, if anything, that was kind of all like one big intro to everybody to kind of like one get into swing of things and also to like get to know you all a little bit more. But now I do want to dive deeper into, I mean, really the reason why we're here in the main topic, which is identity, identity and being of the Latinx community. So the main question, my main question for all three of you, and again, whoever wants to answer first can answer first, but my main question is, and I'll break it down as well, but are you a Latinx artist or are you an artist that just happens to be a Latinx? And what I mean by that is that by the former, if you are a Latinx artist, how do you represent yourself through your work? Because again, this is something that's core to why you make the work, and you want to be like you want your community and your people to be represented in you in what you do and also in your work. But if it's the latter, if you're an artist that just happens to be Latinx, how do you maneuver through the art industry when facing certain expectations and assumptions about you and your work? Because again, and we briefly talked about this a couple minutes ago, but it's like, especially when entering predominantly white spaces, or just art spaces in general, and just being of color, immediately people are going to have assumptions about you and the kind of work that you make. So I guess my question is, again, are you a Latinx artist and your work represents that and is a reflection of you being Latinx? Or are you just an artist that happens to be Latinx? So I know that was a lot. So yeah, whoever wants to go first and open that up and kind of start the conversation. But I think that's really like, that's what I want to know, because there's a big difference.
I think I can give it a shot, kind of. I think, I mean, it's like it's a youth afro dilemma, right? So it's like it's a matter of what comes first, right? Do I come first or does Latinx come first? You know,
Yeah.
Was I born into Latinx or is Latinx born from me? You know, now I would kind of lean towards the latter because I mean, if you think about it, just purely on a linguistic standpoint, when I was in my developmental period, you know, in high school, there was no Latinx, you know, it was Latino, Latina, right?
Yeah.
So how can I exist underneath something that I precede, you know? And so I think I feel like it's sometimes more fair to be like, yo, Latinx is me, you know, like Latinx is whatever I am, right? Because if you look at it the other way, I feel like you're always trying to find your space inside of this like this zone, you know, whereas that zone just exists around you. And what was the second part of the question? The for
Second part was, I mean, that was the latter. So if you're an artist that
yeah.
just happens to be Latinx, how do you maneuver through the art industry when facing assumptions and just expectations?
Yeah. I
So again,
mean, I
like you're
definitely
Latino. Sorry.
yeah. No, yeah. I definitely feel that. And I think I mean I feel like with a lot of Latinos, like we're very proud, you know, of the area, the region we're from, you know, like nosotros no cogemos de eso, like we are full about that, you know, and
Yeah.
so I had a very interesting experience when I went to school in LA, right? Because the Latino community in LA looks very different than the Latino community in Boston, right? Now I'm Dominican, and my entire life I'm like, yo, you think of the word Hispanic, they look like me, right? They look like me, they look like Mav, right? They look like Michael, right? Um, but when I went to LA, like it was predominantly like Mexicans, right? Mexican, Central American. And a lot of my friends at the time, right? They saw the way I acted. They saw, you know, my vernacular and how I dressed. They're like, yo, are you black? Are you Hispanic? Like you got to pick, bro. I got told you got to pick.
You got to pick.
And I feel like that kind of comes into right. People expect a certain thing out of you and out of your work. And I feel like for me, I'm in a very fortunate position in terms of identity with being Dominican, right? Because it's already so ambiguous. Like people are still arguing for some like about like what a Dominican actually is, you know? Like one of the first island in the new world, you know, the first city in the new world is Santo Domingo, right? So like we're such a nebulous group of individuals, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to find shelter in that ambiguity because I almost, again, I don't have to decide, right? And so I think, you know, obviously my work is very vibrant. It's very saturated. It's very like, you know, it's got that like super hot, warm look. A lot of the times, and I think that's one point where people think, oh man, like you're so Hispanic. Look at your photos. They're so you know, tropical looking, you know? But like, you know, like it's tropical because of the people there, you know, like and so and like the kids, like these kids come like right here, like these kids come way before like all that extra like Latino, Latina, Hispanic, like all that is they're like confinements, you know? We find a lot of pride in it, which is interesting. You know, it's kind of like fulfilling gender roles and all that stuff. You know, some people like it, some people find pride in it, some people find it very suffocating. And I think the term, the group Latino, Latinx, that's up to the individual to kind of feel like we have all the power in that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers. That might be kind of, it might have derailed a little bit, but
No,
yeah.
no, not at all. I think that was beautiful, especially because it's a reflection of you. I mean, it's a reflection of you, and really, what you were just saying is that it depends on the person.
Mhm.
It varies from person to person, and I agree. I know there's a lot of people that also there's still controversy still on like Latina versus Hispanic, and it's like you know what I mean. Whereas, and that's all. We're not even gonna get into that. I mean, we can if y'all want to, but it's like it really does vary from person to person, but it's like I think regardless of where you stand and how you feel about it, like I do agree that we as Hispanics slash and or Latinx, we are very prideful. Like we are proud of being whichever it is we identify with. Um and the reason I'm actually very glad that you answered first, Joseann, as well, is because like going back to like expectations, challenges, and assumptions, I think like before I even had a conversation with you and I just saw your work, I just assumed like, okay, well, he's very in tune with his like with his heritage. Because again, it's like your work looked like it was in tune with being Latino.
Mhm.
And then it's like, in this case, that's a positive thing. But then it's like, what if it's a white man saying that, like, oh, he's a
Yeah.
Hispanic artist?
Yeah.
And why does that change the conversation now? You
Mhm.
know, where it's like now, like from Hispanic saying that to, or not even a Dominican specifically, saying that to another Dominicano, like, habla diferente, because I'm like, bro, like, ese de lo mío. Like, that's, you feel me? And it's like, now I'm proud, but then it's like, well, now if it's a white man saying this and like looking at your work, like, yeah, he's Dominican for sure.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, sorry to interrupt.
yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, just like, it changes it. Yeah, it changes it completely.
It's a lot about like what kind of space you want to penetrate, you know? Because it's funny you say that you think I'm like super in tune with my culture when like, dude, before Panama, when I went to shoot that, I haven't been to the island in like a decade. Like I didn't see that side of my family for like years. And like I still feel like an outsider kind of to the island, you know? Like I'm not gonna go back and pretend like I was out there like, you know, really like cogiendo and like you know, riding around at night, you know, and I'm doing all this extra stuff. I'm like a tourist over there, you know, kind of, right? It's all relation, you know. But it's I guess like what you're saying with the if a white person said like I'm a Latino artist, you know, it feels different. It's about the space I want to penetrate, you know.
Yeah.
It's like hip hop, you know, when like any black artist like does music and it's like yo that's urban, you know, and it's just about its reductions. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I very much agree. I don't want to continue before I just want to make sure that Michael and Zan, if you have anything to add to those questions. Again, are you a Latinx artist? Are you an artist that just happens to be Latinx? And again,
I
does your work reflect that? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No problem. I was thinking the same thing about Joseann. Like, it's definitely about the spaces that I'm in and the spaces I want to be in, and because I think, okay, well, I want to say like I'm a Latino artist, but then I also don't want to be boxed in. And I think about, okay, well, who's boxing me in? And who am I trying to be hired from? Who am I trying to help? Like I always ask the universe, and for me, that looks like asking God, like God help me help others. And that's the mantra that I always use. Like, how do I like I gotta get help from the universe to help other people, and who are those people that are gonna help me help others, and who are the people that I'm helping? It's like a very like a push through push, and I always say like sometimes I get hired by people who are outside of the Latino community, and I'm hired for like inclusivity work. And I'm like, okay, well, that's money in my pockets, and I appreciate that. But are you gonna like, am I only gonna be hired for such a thing? Like, I also don't want to be just the face of that. I want to be able to do whatever else is needed. But in the work that I do right in the moment, and where my career is going, is that I'm helping like young activists who are Latino, activists and storytellers who have parents who have immigrated, or youth that have immigrated themselves to the United States. So I think about like, if putting myself under that title of a Latino artist, will that help me do my job better? Will that help me connect with others better? And will it help me also just like not feel like just a piece of equipment walking around?
Yeah, it's the tool.
Yeah, I don't, it's everything is a tool. And I think yeah, I think I might have to say like, yeah, I'm a Latino artist because that tool, being Latino and where I'm from and my culture and what I speak Spanish, like speaking Spanish has been a great tool for me. Um, it's been an amazing tool for me to use to connect with others. So, and I also started doing photography in El Salvador. So I feel like a bit, not like almost a bit of pride, but like also like bit of like that love letter
Yeah.
to how I started. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you talk about your work from your country a lot, but I'm assuming that's the work that's been sitting in your hard drives that no one that no one has seen, because I've only seen, I think you've only shown me 2 images from El Salvador, and just the 2 that I've seen just feel, they first of all, they feel like you, and it's not just because you are from there, but it's just like, again, it's like, so sorry. Y'all hear that outside? No? Okay, well, it's just, sorry. Okay. Apologies. Yeah, Zan, it feels like you, but not just because, again, you're photographing your community and you're from El Salvador, but it feels like you because it's a lot more intimate. And again, going back to like the idea of a love letter, it just feels like you are not only present, but truly trying to tell that story because you care. I think that's why it feels like you, because you're a very passionate individual. For those that don't know, but Zan is a very, very passionate individual. And I think with passion in general, from artist to artist, it shows. Like when you do something with passion versus just doing it as a trade, as a job. Yes, it's great getting money, and yes, it's great that I'm gonna do this. It could even be a cool portfolio piece, but it's like, if your heart's not in it, if you're not passionate about this thing, like, I think it's not going to feel like you. Um, yeah, and again, this kind of derail a little bit, but it does all tie in because it really is just just synergy and identity. And it's like, if you feel like this is a good representation of you, who you are, what community you're a part of, and what you love. But
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I work with young leaders, and something that we work on as storytellers, and we talk about a megaphone, and like when it's a megaphone goes from like small to big.
mhm,
So you think about yourself first, your identity, who you are, what you feeling like today when you woke up, what side of the bed, you know what I'm saying, your identity. Then you think about the us, like what's the community a part of, like what other bigger things are you a part of in this world. And then you think about the now, like what's my story right now, and how can my story like project into like an action or a present to the world.
yeah,
Like how can you help others through what you love and through who you are.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And again, in going back to passionate but also selfless, I think you are just a selfless individual and artist, because I've also come in contact with certain, especially Latinx artists, that, not to say that they're not selfless, but I think the act of representing their community is like, I'm doing this for me, and there's nothing wrong with that either, because again, it's like, I love Zan, I love the fact that you're always talking about like, how can I help other people? How you're always thinking about outside. But I think it's also, again, like, it's still very valid to be able to be like, how can I do this for me? How can I represent what I want to represent? How can I show my community to, and even though even that in itself is still selfless, because you're still doing it for your community. You're still, you feel me? But it's like, the thought itself is like, how am I going to do this for me? Because I don't see the work that I want to see out there. So I'm gonna do it for me, because instead of looking for the thing that I can't find, I'm gonna go make it for me, because I've been looking for it for so long and I can't find it. So I'm gonna go make it for me. But you doing it for you, you're still doing it for other people. You feel me? But it's, anyways, yeah. Yeah. Michael, before I move on, do you want to add anything to this question? So again, I feel like we've been like going everywhere, but the
Yeah,
question is,
of course.
again, are you a Latinx artist, or are you an artist that happens to be Latinx?
This question, it's almost, with what you guys are saying, with the space and everything. It really varies. There's a lot of different. I mean, I'm definitely, I'm a Latino artist, and like, I make films. There was a point in time where like historically, Dominican films, like off the top of my head, I can name like Sanky Panky and Andrea, two Dominican films, classics.
Hey, and
But like,
Loco Mang is another classic, brother. You can't.
yeah, yeah. But think about it, like that's three classics, mind you. It's been years,
Yeah.
like years. Oh, the last Dominican film I saw that was amazing. It came out last year. I believe it's called Bantu Mama. I saw that one at on an online screening, but like there's like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like there's not enough. And for me as an artist, like and it goes to show, like, I'm a Latino artist. I'm from Lawrence too. I love showing, my city in my films. Like the thing is, there's so many ways of putting it, but like the word artist is always gonna be there.
Mhm.
And like the thing is, um, with me being a Dominican, there was a point where I was like, where are the other Dominican films? Where are the other filmmakers? Like, um, I know you mentioned going to LA in school, and LA not having that many Dominicans. My friend, one of my closest friends is Starlin. He's out in LA right now, and like the culture over there, it's like almost like so, like it's like a handful. And um same with films too. Like I haven't seen Dominican Dominican culture shown in a film at such a large like blockbuster level. The last time we saw that was In the Heights, and I'm gonna be honest, like half of that cast wasn't even Dominican, bro. Like,
yeah, I mean, y'all know the joke about, you know, like in the whites, because it wasn't accurate representation of any of the community. But let's not talk about it.
and the thing is, with that being said, like In the Heights, you know, there was moments where I saw that movie and I got chills because I was seeing things from my culture that I hadn't seen on a giant screen like that ever. That was the first time I saw Mangu and like queso y salami on the screen, like mad big in the Dolby, and I got chills watching that. Like I thought I'd never see that, and it took that long to see it, you know, and um I always like, I don't like the idea that, you know, you go out and you make a film like In the Heights and you tell me that there wasn't enough Dominicans to cast in this movie, cuz like I'll be honest, like you're lying, cuz um like there's so many Dominicans out there. Like I just did Bailando and the whole cast is Dominican. There's no excuse, you know? Like our whole cast is Dominican, and you know, even having, you know, Latino creators in the films as well. Like it was very important for me when we were looking for an editor that I wanted someone who can speak Spanish and someone that was familiar with the culture, because, you know, it has to be somebody that's passionate with the story. And like, I'm sorry I'm going on this crazy rant right now, but like
let him cook.
it's like it's like there's not enough of these stories being told. Same with, you know, going back to me being from Lawrence, like I've tried looking for history on my town of like any other filmmakers, but like it's very scarce. There's not enough. And I felt like there was a point in my life where like I gotta build this foundation now. Like I gotta show people that like there's filmmakers from Lawrence and that you can do it too, you know? And um a lot of people tend to tell you that like, oh, you gotta go to LA and New York to become a filmmaker. And it's like, dude, I'm doing it here right now in like my city. Like you can't, I'm not gonna go out there and, you know, do all that. You can find it, and it's possible like that. You can do it too attitude.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's like one of those things where I feel like it's very important for me to tell these stories, and I feel like it's very important for me to continue that. Like I want to be a part of that catalog where, like, you know, people go, oh, Dominican films, you know, Andrea, Sanky Panky, Bailando. Like I want to be on that list.
Yeah.
You know, like I want more Dominican filmmakers. Like I want more films showcasing, you know, culture. Like today with the editor for Bailando, we were talking about how we wanted the film to feel fun. There's so many, you know, Latino films where like when we're shown on a blockbuster level, we always got to be shown like we're struggling. For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have to be shown like we're struggling? Why can't we be shown like we're celebrating life? Or like why can't we be shown like, you know, this, you know, why can't we have like a Dirty Dancing? You know what I'm saying? Like why can't we have a Step Up? Why do like the recent Transformers film, I don't know if you guys seen that movie, but
I did, unfortunately.
but like the recent Transformers film, like the protagonist was shown struggling, and he robbed a transformer. Like why couldn't we just have like you know, the first Transformers movie, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Like why did we have to rob a transformer, you know? Like why do we got to be shown in that light all the time or something like that when it comes to like these gigantic blockbuster films? Like I want to be like, I want these Hispanic characters to be portrayed the same way they portray like I you know, these movies. Like why can't I be portrayed at that level as well? Same with Breakfast Club too. I love Breakfast Club, but all the characters are white. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there wasn't like they didn't show any culture in there. And that was another thing. I could keep going on with this, but
No,
yeah,
no.
like
You're good. Like that's
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And it's again, it's not even like being shown at that level. It's just being shown.
yeah,
Is that's simple as that. Just being shown accurately. And
yeah,
I remember being excited about In the Heights the first time that I saw it, especially because again, it's first of all, Washington Heights is like, bro, for those who have never been to Washington Heights before, but Washington Heights is like just our people. 99% of that community is just our people. And by our people, I
yeah,
mean it's Latinos, because it's like there's Cubano, Dominicano, Puerto Riqueño, like bro, like Washington Heights is it. And I saw a trailer. I remember like not even trailer. It was like the teaser for it, and I was like so excited because I was just like, bro, is this like a? And I don't know if it's based off of a play or it's based off of a
yeah,
play. It's based off of a play. I've never seen the play, so excuse
yeah,
my ignorance. But based off of the teaser at least, and like the subject matter being like a love, again, like a love story taking place in Washington Heights, I thought I was like, okay, so we're getting a contemporary take on Scorsese's like West Side Story, but like with Hispanic. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like finally, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, um, step in the right direction, I guess. But it's like, why does it need to just be a step in the right direction every time? And it's like little increments every time. And it's like, bro, why, like you said, why are we portrayed accurately? It's not even just about like we get better and better every time. It's like going back to what we were just talking about, where it's like instead of unfortunately like searching for this thing that we want to see, like just make it, because it's no one's making it. And we're looking and looking and no one's doing it justice, no one's doing it correctly. So it's like, Michael T, it sounds like you're trying to get to a point where it's like now I'm sorry, you are at the point. You are at the point where now you are making your own films and accurately portraying what you want to portray, which is you, really, which is your community and your people, which is
I
us.
feel like it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's my whole responsibility, but like it's part of my responsibility to put those stories out there in the forefront and be able to show those stories, because like who else is gonna do them? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's almost like a part of my responsibility to be able to showcase that these stories happen. Like they're out there. And um yeah, when it comes to stories about Lawrence or stories about being Dominican, I'm gonna jump at that opportunity because I feel like they're not told enough. And like I feel like even with the history and film, like there's not enough stories being told, of people of color, and I feel like there should be we should be having millions of them at the forefront in comparison to like how the history of cinema is like overall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes any sense. But
Oh,
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
I love that you brought up a challenge like that, of feeling responsible, like feeling responsible to do exactly that, like to portray the thing that you want to see accurately portrayed, which in this case happens to be literally our entire identity. And I don't want to say just our entire identity, because there's other aspects of our identity, like it's not just where we're from and what culture we're born into. And that's a good segue, because actually I was going to ask all three of you that eventually. So I think let me just ask right now, because let's just go based off momentum, because again, it's like this is a very, very important topic, and I want to see who else feels the same way. Same way as you, Michael, which is again like on the conversation of responsibility. So do y'all feel like you are responsible for accurately portraying? Like, do you feel responsible representing your community? Yeah, like in any way, ideally through your art. And how do you navigate? How do you navigate these responsibilities if you do feel it? If not, completely fine. Again, it's like, yeah, but do you feel responsible? Like, I have to do this, especially because again, it's based off of what we just talked about. Seems like we're still looking for the things that we want to see, so instead we're making it ourselves. And that theme seems to be recurring, where it's like, I'm gonna just go make it. I'm gonna go do it because, yeah. So whoever
I
wants,
think I could go first.
go ahead.
I think when I think about responsibility, I think about maybe it not starting with me, but about where does it start from? And I think as a photographer, yes, I have like gone and ventured out into doing like different personal projects, but what I do on a daily basis is really I work with young leaders who are Latinos, and I think about the fact that like so much of my life has been like education. Like I just graduated high school, and I think about all the amazing and beautiful teachers and mentors that I've had in my life, math, included, and I think also that I just want to pay like homage to all the beautiful people that have brought me to this point in my life and like who have helped me. So like I think about like in my daily job as somebody who works with youth, I want to be somebody who does the work of like putting in the education, but also giving people the tool of like I've put in the work to make this to have skills in photography, so why not use it? And I really like what Michael T said about like shout out Lawrence, because while I do work with students like all over the US. Like this year and last year I really started doing work here with kids in Lawrence, and I started doing work with like Dominican and like Guatemalans and different Latinos, Latino students, high schoolers here in Lawrence, and I'm trying to get work up at the park for them. I'm trying to get different opportunities for them to put out their stories of like whether it be immigration or whether it be like just personal identity stories. Like, okay, like maybe I can't put out your story, maybe I can't do the work of accurately representing you, but I can give you the tools, and I can show you that like for the first time I just went to City Hall and I learned how to ask for a permit to go put up at the art at the park.
Yeah.
Like you can't just put up art at the park. You gotta have like a whole there's a whole permit, parks and recreations, and I was really scared.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know what's gonna go down. I don't know who's gonna show up, city council who, and I just went. I took the step to go and do it because I was like, I really need to do this for the students that I work with. And then I saw that it was like, okay, it's not that hard. Like, okay, if I can do it, then I could tell other kids, yo, you could do it too. Like I could tell other Latinos in Lawrence, like, you don't gotta go looking for opportunities, or you don't gotta go do so much like outside of your community. Like right here in Lawrence, we got the tools for you. Like I think that's my responsibility. Like I can't accurately depict everybody's story, but I can give you the tools.
I can make the argument that that's just as important, if not more important. Because again, it's like you are only one person. You can only do so much. So for example, it's like I wouldn't want you to feel responsible to try to get every single story accurately of every kid that you work with. You know what I mean? Because imagine if you have hundreds of kids. Ideally, in a perfect world, you know what I mean? Yes. But because you can't do that, because there's like limitations on whatever time, money, just like whatever the case may be, you giving them the tool to then, you giving them the tool and the accessibility to represent themselves is now, you feel me? It's like now you don't have to do that work. Like now you're giving them the platform to represent themselves. Now you don't have to do that part for them. And it's like that's just as important, if not more important, to just give them the platform. Instead of like, hey, I'm gonna tell your story because I can. It's like, no, I'm gonna let you tell your story. And it's like it's the same thing. You feel me? Like you're still letting them tell their story and you're still representing your community accurately. So I just, for anybody who's listening and anybody who's like maybe putting a lot of pressure on themselves and like, how do I do this? Is like sometimes you don't have to be the one to actually do it. Even though we were just talking about like being the person to do it, but this is another form of doing it. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to go in and photograph all these families and all. No, like let them photograph their own families, and then it's like go get the permit. Now they can bring their work and put it in a park. You feel me? Where it's like that's huge because now you just gave everyone an opportunity to tell their own story. So it's like you're still doing the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of my story is that I'm a Latino artist, Salvadorian artist from Lawrence, and I've grown up here my whole life. I lived like right next to Red and Roses for my whole life, and it's like, what other community do I got? Like y'all's all I got. Like this is it. And I just want to, I think it's maybe like not take yourself too serious, but it's definitely like it helps me keep in mind that why I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for kids in Lawrence. Like I'm doing it for those other artists in Lawrence, because sometimes art isn't as in education isn't as emphasized as it maybe should be, or activism and social justice work isn't implemented into our curriculums. But I want to show them like, nah, like y'all could go do whatever the heck y'all want to do. Y'all could be a photographer, no matter who you are. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. And I'm sound like a little elevated thought there. Sounds a little low ET if I do say so myself. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm very, very proud of you, kid, for real. That's amazing. So I think we definitely got I got a little carried away with these topics because I want to continue talking about this, but I also just realized that it's 7:45. So I want to ask one more question, maybe two, and then have the last 5 to 10 minutes to Q&A for those watching, because you know I want to respect everyone's time as well. Like it's a Thursday night, you know. So thank you, Zane. I mean, thank you everyone who's spoken so far. Thank you. There's actually one last question that I want to ask. And I guess it's a two-parter, which is one, do y'all come from a family of artists? Like, is that a thing? And then like part two to that is, has familial support been something that was immediately given to y'all off rip? Like as soon as you started with your medium, as soon as you started telling these stories, as soon as you started taking responsibility, again, going back to that word, taking responsibility as a Latinx artist to show the Latinx community and accurately represent it to your work. Was that support given to y'all from your family, or did it have to be earned? And I put air quotes over earned because, and I speak for myself right now, I come from a very traditional Dominican family where, again, first-gen immigrant, like my mom did not have the opportunity or the freedom to choose to be an artist. That wasn't an option for her, unfortunately. You know, she couldn't just come to the US and like pick up a camera. No, like she had to work very horrible jobs and slowly work her way up, learn the language because she didn't even, you know what I mean? So she didn't have the freedom to do this and that. And because of that experience, her reality, when I was younger, you know, all she wanted me to do was either, you know, be a lawyer, be a doctor, be just practical things. So it's like I really didn't get that much support when I first started. So to me, I had to earn it, air quotes. Like I had to give her evidence and give her proof that I can do this and make a living, and it's actually like a job. So I know that was a lot, but that's the last question that I want to ask y'all, which again, like, do y'all come from a family of artists? And the reason I ask that is because if you do, then they'll understand, you know. And then if you don't, did that support have to be earned? And I open that up to whoever wants to take it. I love it.
think
Everyone's like, damn, I don't know.
I'm hesitant to go because like my answer is a pretty boring answer. I think uh, I was very lucky to have parents that just supported me, like right off the jump. Like I said, I wanted to go to arts high school. Like I was on track to be a baseball player. And then I was like, I want to act. And they're like, yo, fuck yeah, dude, like do that, Sorry for excuse my language, but they're like, yeah, go for it,
Yeah.
Um, but I think one thing that I think kind of goes in part of that for me is like they supported me, but I don't know if they necessarily like got the vision, which I don't know if you necessarily need. Some people just need to hear the parents say, "I believe in you,"
Yeah.
And I do have that for sure, but I definitely am like kind of a black sheep of the family. I mean, like the power, like Mav, like you we were talking earlier, and you were like, man, I had to watch Haiku, the Power Ranger film, like twice to kind of get it. Think about like my Dominican family in the DR, like having to read subtitles in Spanish for a guy speaking Japanese.
Yeah.
It's just like they are not gonna understand like where I'm coming from or like what I'm talking about.
¿Y qué es esto?
Right. Like, you can't do that. Like, like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And like obviously, like I'm not gonna say like I was like bitten, but like obviously when I was like younger, there wasn't this like new wave movement of like artists like Bad Bunny, like this new age of like Latino artists who kind of push, because like think about like reggaeton and the artists we had in the early 2000s, that was like it wasn't super machismo, but it was still kind of coming off that,
Yeah.
like, and so like I think the closest like my mom has ever kind of gotten to understanding me was like saying, "Oh yeah, like you kind of just like Bad Bunny, like you're like that, but you're weird like that, And I'm like, okay, I guess.
Your thanks, question mark?
Right, but I do gotta give them credit. They are very open and supporting. I was never pushed to be like, a doctor, a lawyer, any of this stuff. Thankfully, because I'm not that bright, so I would have done terribly.
I disagree, brother. I think your brain just works differently, but you are definitely intelligent. You're definitely bright. And again, on that note too, it's not even, I guess I'm not necessarily asking if they just straight up didn't support it, because again, it's like that. It's just fear. It comes out of fear because our parents. It comes out of fear, and in that fear comes out of love because they don't want to see a struggle. As simple as that. It's not that they don't support, brother, your parents. Like, of course, they want to see you happy and living your dream, but they also know what it's like to struggle. Like they know what it's like to come from a country that they're not from, leave everything behind, learn a new language, start literally from the bottom. You know what I mean? So it comes from love and it comes from fear. So I guess it's more like, feel me? Yeah, because they're for me at least, it was my mom was scared to hear like, oh, you want to be a photographer? Like, I know you love that and I want you to be happy. Maybe keep it as a hobby because I still want you to be happy, but I really want you to like I want to make sure that you don't struggle in life, Yeah.
I think oh, sorry. Please go.
Go ahead,
Please.
go ahead.
Oh, you can go. Finish your sentence. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, and I don't come from a family of artists. I actually come from a family of athletes. So same thing, like baseball and basketball was a big thing. And I am the opposite of an athlete, like the exact whatever the opposite is, that's me. So it's like on top of not being an athlete, I also want to do art, and they're like, oh, all right. Yeah, so they didn't even know how to maneuver. So I guess it's like, did y'all have a similar experience?
Yeah, my only thing I would like add, just response, because you said something really cool. It's like, yeah, like it's out of love, and like obviously Latino, we can all like now that we're older, we can all understand that there's a big issue with the way Latino parents love, and do they love properly, and do they love you in a way where do they love you enough to let you get your heart broken? Because that's what we all need. That's what art is, right? Is getting your heart broken a bunch of times.
You said that, and all of us were like, "Damn."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I mean, it's just, do they love you enough to let you get your heart broken a little bit? Because like it's trauma. Like they, like you said, like they don't want to see it happen again. They don't want to see, like they were heartbroken. That's heartbreak, man. Like leaving your family, like you don't see them no more. You know, like my, like this is like this, not to get too personal, but like my dad, while I was shooting by my mom, unbeknownst to me, my dad was getting deported. You know, like his entire like 30 years in this country, he was doing his little business. Started 30 years of this country just gone like that, like it's heartbreak, like it's a heartbreaking kind of existence to be an immigrant.
Yeah.
And I mean, you feel that you never want anyone to feel that way as well. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. I actually never even like it really is heartbreaking, you know what I mean? And it's like, how do you then balance that, like that fear out of experience? Because it's like the fear comes from experience, but also like love and hopefulness, like still wanting to like not have that reality for your kids. But then it's like, if that's all you know, it's like you can't help but like I can't even explain how this feels. I can't explain my reality. I'd even want you, like the only way for you to understand is to live through it. So therefore I don't want you to understand because I don't want you to live through it. You know what I mean? So it's tough. And I think like as I got older is when I really started to understand my mom. I mean, I understand her like why it had to be earned, air quotes, and like why she was so fearful of it. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And I'm grateful every day to be able to do the things that I want to do and love to do. And honestly, I'm grateful to be able to do the things that like I struggle with, because like it means that I have the freedom of doing something that is hard and doing something that like, you feel me? Like it's a blessing to be able to do the things that we want to do. Yeah. And does anybody else want to answer that last question before we wrap up and do some Q&A with with the chat?
Yeah, I think like you hit the nail on the wall. Like my mom said, like she says, "Oh, a ti te gusta aprender a lo duro." Like you love learning the hard way, huh? Like always, like, cause she's like, oh, like when things go wrong, like, like she's like, of course I'm gonna be there for you, but it sucks to see your child like cry and like feel like oh my goodness, the whole world is like everything's not working out and everything's hard, and then but I'm gonna still go cry to my mom, like I mean like, and but my mom is like, she has such a tough persona that she carries, and she's like a very just a strong personality, so we clash a whole lot. And she's always told me that that what really was instilled in me and the way that she fostered love with me was through education. Like, oh, you got good grades, like like
That's
I
all
knew,
I asked for.
like, I was I was the only child for 12 years. So for her, I was like the star child, and I was gonna become the lawyer, and I was gonna fix all the generational trauma. Like I was it, you know. And I did that. I got into Esperanza Academy private school here in Lawrence for all girls. I got into a boarding high school. But none of that like really mattered at the end of the day for me. Like being in the best school, getting the best grades, it just did nothing for me. And I eventually graduated from Lawrence High School, and like for her it was like very like dang, what happened? What was going on? Like what happened to the lawyer trajectory? I thought we were, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, ma, like, I'll be a photographer, like, and she's like, oh, okay, you could be a photographer, but, maybe on the side, like, have like something else. I'm like, nah, mom, like, that's not gonna happen. I gotta really, like, if, like, I would tell her, like, maybe I'm gonna have, like you said, heartbreak, but something that my mom like showed me, because she works job like like cleaning jobs, like because that's what she could do, because that's what she found as like a source of money for her family as a single mother. And she taught me, okay, get your education and work hard, like just work hard. But for her, hard work look different than for what I do. But I told her, like, as long as I work hard, like you're gonna see me work hard, and I'm gonna put all my effort into this. So I feel like I can connect to Matt when he says that, oh, like I had to earn it a bit, I had to show the evidence.
Yeah. And I think that's a very beautiful point. Like that your mom's version of working hard and the fruit that comes from that is very different than your version of working hard. And I think again, it's like, and it's not because one is more valuable than the other. It's just it's different. It's a different kind of fruit. So it's like, and it's a fruit that your mom has never had before, which is the freedom of choosing. Again, it's like as simple as that. It's just the freedom of choosing what you want to do. And I think eventually your version of working hard, and not even eventually, Zen, you're already there. It's like you were just talking about the fact that you gave all these kids the opportunity to tell their story. Like you're already there. So it's like now you're giving your mom this fruit that she's never seen before, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like you can, you know what I mean, you're doing this. Yeah, amazing. And also again, very proud of you. Like
Thank you.
crazy. Thank you all very much for this beautiful conversation. I am going to wrap up there because 8:01 on the dot. So we are still a little bit overs, but I'm a maybe 5 minutes of Q&A. So if anyone in the chat just want to throw up some questions for our panelists today, and while y'all type in the chat, if there are any questions, just take this time to say thank you to 3 panelists today. Again, thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for talking about yourselves, your work ethic, your community, your process. We kind of talked about everything, which is amazing. If it was up to me, we'd go for another 2 hours. But yeah, again, thank you so much. And it really means a lot. I wish eventually we can do something like this on a much bigger scale. I know the Zoom is fantastic because it's very accessible, which is fantastic. Because again, it's like I know there's people at work, at school. I'm in the studio. You know what I mean? It's nice, but I would love eventually to have like some in-person discussion panels and have a nice, you know, like in the gallery space. But we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. But I just want to say thank you again for all 3 of y'all for pulling up and being here and talking about it and just getting a little vulnerable as well. And does anybody have any questions for our panelists today? If y'all want to just write anything in the chat, please. Give y'all a couple minutes. And if not, we can just wrap up. And I guess panelists, do y'all have any questions for each other, for me? Let me like while we wait.
I don't know. I don't know if it's too much of a question, but obviously respect to the 2 other panelists, you know. But also like, I mean, this is the first time meeting all 3 of you, but especially Zan, I think I'm very impressed by just like not only how well spoken you are, like for being like right out of high school, but like in a way I feel like also like an attached you know, very detached sense of pride because of just like secondhand pride. That's what I'm looking for. Secondhand pride.
Right.
But just how just like sick you are. You know what I mean? I'm looking at this photo right now and it just goes so hard. And then the photo with like the 2 kids like bridging from Central America to the East Coast, you know. It's just super well-intentioned work, which I think, you know, you can have talent, but like I feel like intention is a part of your work that really develops after you kind of get a good mastery of the technical stuff. And I think I don't want to say promise because like that's like, oh, like you're not at a certain level, but I think like you are executing a lot of your ideas, and I think in a lot in really sophisticated ways. So mad props and respect to you for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, extremely proud. Also, I mean, again, we're not gonna because I'll talk for hours, but Zan had this idea And it's just amazing to see an idea go from an idea to fully like, you know, like I say all the time, go from ideation to execution. And it's like, and then the final product is a physical 20-foot long scrim. And it's just beautiful to see. And I think that is like all the proof that you need, that you literally can do anything you set your mind to. Because this was an idea and now it lives on a fence 20 foot long, like that you can see, that the world can see, the community can see, like, you feel me? And this start off as an idea. So it's like that, that alone is proof to like, yo, y'all can do whatever you set your mind to. Simple as that. And like,
Yeah.
it's physical in front of you. You can touch it. Like this scrim was your idea. You feel me? So I think just
Thank
going,
you,
no, for sure, bro. Going forward, I always want you to remember that. It's like you can literally set your mind to whatever. I'm sorry, you can do anything you set your mind to. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for all those beginner artists, all those kids out there, like this picture, I literally just like I took a piece of paper and I just did little stick figures. Like if all you can do is stick figures and some windows, like that's all you can do, some doors, all you can sketch, and or you don't even got. Sometimes there's been times in my career where I didn't even have a camera because I can't afford one. And I've had to look out to outlet. I had to resource that. So if you could just do one thing, like just sit and sketch it out.
Yeah, it's all about doing what you can with what you have. Like you don't need the best gear or this or that. Like if you have an idea and the eye, you good. For our medium at least. This might be a little different for like a writer. You know, you don't need the eye for a writer. But anyways. All right, y'all. Word 8:06. That was about 5 minutes. No questions in the chat, so I think we're good to wrap up. I actually do want to. The last thing I want to do, I'm gonna stop sharing this real quick. I just want to take a picture of us four. I mean, I could screenshot. I'll screenshot it and also take a picture on my phone. Is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
Word. All right. So I guess I'll do my phone first. All right. I'm gonna count down and hold up. And 3, 2, 1. Thank you. And I'm gonna just do a screenshot too. Word. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very, very much, y'all. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the beginning of October. I hope this month is kind to you. I hope it brings a new chapter. I hope it brings happiness and prosperity. And the rest of the year, the fact that the rest of the year is like 3 months is crazy, but enjoy the rest of this year. And I'll be in touch with all three of you, but just thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Thank you, Matt. Bye.